Okay, we're going to take a look at project 1.1, which is found on page 14 of the text. Um, Traditionally, in programming classes, Hello World is the first program that is written just to kind of a throwback to early programming languages where using text and messages was kind of interesting. Um, But what this will show us in Lua is the ability to add a text object, how to configure that a little bit, and what it's going to look like in the simulator. So here we go. The complete code is in there at the top of page 15. You can copy and paste it into your text editor. I'm using a Mac computer, so my text editor at this point is Text Wrangler, which is free, but it should work pretty much identically in anything that you're using. So here's the first line of text. Local text object equals display.newText, parentheses, your message in quotes, which is hello world, comma, 100, 100, comma, native.system font, comma, 24, parentheses. We'll talk about that in just a minute, but I'm going to add the next line, which sets the color of the text itself. There again, whenever we use name, the same name, text object, and we're using the property set fill color 1, 1, 1. This uses the new graphics, which we'll explain later, but for now, that's going to give it a fill color of white. So, one of the requirements of Lua is that in every project that you create, you have a main.lua file. Typically, this is going to be what runs your program, and something as simple as this is the only thing that's going to be in this project. So what I need to do here is go up to File and Save As, get rid of all of this and make it main.lua. I made a Hello World folder on my desktop already, so I'm just going to put that into that folder and save. And notice how some of the words change colors because Text Wrangler does recognize elements of Lua. For example, that this is a local object, its logo is in blue. My text, which is in quotation marks, shows up as red. Some of the other parameters are highlighted in blue as well. So next I want to bring up my Corona simulator and we'll see what this looks like. Again, this is not going to be overly impressive. It's just going to be some text showing up on the screen, but one of the things that we'll be able to do here, again, I just navigate to the folder, I click on main.lua and hit open. And there it is. I have one of the iPhones selected, I believe it's iPhone 5, and there you see my Hello World in white. One of the neat things about the Corona simulator is if we go up here to Window, we have this View As option, and we have many different devices. Again, this being the starter or the free version of Corona, it does not have the complete list or the most up-to-date devices. As you can see, the Samsung Galaxy S3 is the latest Galaxy phone. I mean, I can change that. My zoom's a little off here, so let me make this just a little bit smaller. That's too small. But there we go. There's the Galaxy S3. And again, same message, location on the screen. So let's take a look at this code for just a second and just break it down. Local, we'll come back at another time and discuss local versus global. But basically that just means it's found within this particular file for now. We create the name, and we could call this anything. It could be Bob or Fred, but more relevant is some sort of description as to what the object is. So in this case, text object. Notice this is using something called camel syntax, which means it's just a technique that is used by many programmers in which if you condense multiple words into a word with no spaces, the first word is always in lowercase. Each additional word or name is capitalized. So here we have text all in lowercase, we get to the object, and we have capital O. You can kind of see over here too with the attribute new text, just following the same thing. Now, don't let this confuse you, because there are some commands in Lua that have to follow the syntax, like new text. That is the format it must appear in. It's not just for a nice appearance. Whereas this is just a convention. It's not mandatory. If this was all lowercase, it would work just fine. And as you probably know, the computer in most programming languages considers uppercase and lowercase letters to be two different things. So this name, text object with a capital O, would be different than text object all lowercase. Okay, moving over, we have an equal sign. That's just going to tell it what value this text object has. We're using a command which is a display object, and we'll take a look at that a little later in another video of all the different things that we can attach to our display. In this case, it's text. Whatever we put in quotes is our message. So if I change it from hello world to hello ACM students with an exclamation point and resave this, my simulator automatically adjusts, and I get the message. But I do have an issue here that with the Galaxy, the coordinate system isn't exactly set up. Same thing with the 5 because of the high resolution. So let me just adjust these just a bit. See if I can't move this over, and you can see here now these numbers are the location, X and Y coordinates on the screen. Let's just see what happens here. And there, that moved it over a little bit. The biggest difference between the coordinate system on your mobile device, or at least in the simulator, and what we've all learned in math class, is that the axes are inverted. Y actually moves down the screen, and X is still across. So in this case, I have an ordered pair of 120, 100, which means it's going to be over 120 pixels and down 100. And we'll come back and we'll talk about resolution, especially with Apple's interesting terminology, the Retina display, and all the various forms of high definition, and why this doesn't always seem to logically follow what we would think. Moving on, we've got our native system font. This could be changed to any font that we know is on our computer. If I wanted to use like Impact, I could add that here. And 24 is the size of our text. So if we were to make that larger and resave, now you can see. But again, the larger size changes with the location because it's viewing this as one object and it's plotting it from the center. Okay, but we'll come back and explain all that later. So really, if I want to fix this, I just got to keep making my X value a little larger, pushing it more to the right. It's almost there. 160 should do it, and there we go. I'm moving down to the next line, and notice, for the Java programmers out there, there's no semicolon required at the end of the line. But it will also work with one. So if you have that habit from Java and you put semicolons at the end of the line, it will not affect your output. So either or won't matter. Here we're setting the fill color. This is based off of a percentage. So if I were to change this to like 0.5 and resave, notice I get a different color. So there's lots of options here by putting different fractions into the fill color and getting your and seeing what shade you end up. But that is project 1.1 on page 14 and 15 with a little bit of explanation, and comment on the discussion board if there's anything that I covered too quickly or didn't make sense, or just any comment that you may have. Thank you.